Hi guys, here's a quick hack on how to turn that basic t-shirt into something cool.
On social media, she is confident, bubbly and unapologetically herself. But behind the filters and viral videos, content creator Prim Nyonyozi was quietly fighting a battle many never saw with her body and health.
Get to know yourself, get to know what you want.
Growing up, Nyonyozi was the apple of her father's eye. He, however, emphasized discipline and control over food choices within the household, leaving her with a lingering sense that her father would have disapproved of her struggles with weight. As a child, Nyonyozi was brilliant and ambitious, chasing her dreams, which she says she's living. Now a full-time content creator, she broke through on social media during the 2020-2021 COVID-19 lockdowns when the world turned to screens for connection. Her content blends motivation with real, everyday moments as she openly shares how her day has been, fashion tips for plus-size people to empower them feel confident in their bodies.
Up, been broke down, bounce back, been off, I made blue, black, white and brown, paint the town red like cinnamon.
But as her online star rose, her weight followed a quieter, more painful path.
In S5, when I joined Boranyanji, they brought me my skirts. My uniform skirts didn't fit, so they made others, tailor-made, right? The seamstress fitted me. By the time she bought them like a week or two later, they were not fitting and already gained more weight. The headmistress told her to send them back and then bring more, like go and measure her and bring. And she brought them and again same thing. And then they told her, you know what? Fit her and bring them like in a space as short as 3 days. If she stops fitting in them, that's her problem. I keep saying that if someone had seen me gaining weight and they told me, I would have done something about it. But I can only say that now, in the shoes that I'm in now.
Her lifestyle spiraled into silent habits of large portions, secret eating, and emotional comfort in food.
At some point, I knew what I was doing was wrong. At some point, I knew that overeating was wrong. And so what would I do? For example, I would buy a pizza. Have you seen the Java's pizza? Yes. Like how big that thing is? Yes. I would eat it alone. Like I would go out in a restaurant, order for salad for the public. Order salad, eat it, and then I will pretend to make a call to like someone. Like, oh yeah, hi. Which one do you like? Then I tell the waiter. She says she wants chicken. Do you want it mixed or with pineapple or not? Meanwhile, I'm asking myself if I want. And then I'm like, chicken with pineapple. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, chicken with pineapple. Large. Then I will eat it in the car. Make sure that I throw away the boxes so that no one sees that I actually ate this pizza. So the friends that I'm hanging out with know me. I'm eating salad all the time. Then at home, they're also like, oh, we eat with her. Matoke, so how is it that she's gaining weight?
Online, Nyonyozi looked confident, but when the cameras went off, reality kicked in.
Funny thing is, I feel like I had two people living inside me. When I showed up on screen, I was okay. But then when I would go home alone, I wasn't. Yeah, that was when I weighed probably like 112, when I was playing with 112.
Like many battling obesity, Nyonyozi tried everything from pills, diets, exercise to no avail until her body forced a reckoning. Her blood pressure was rising. Even basic hygiene became difficult, a reality rarely spoken about.
By the time I hit like 130, depression set in, I couldn't walk. My feet used to hurt all the time. My feet, my knees, like in the night, you know, like how your brain notifies you that you want to use the toilet. I would now start dreading because I'm like, I have to put these feet down and they're going to first hurt. Like I first go through that pain before I can even stand up and use the toilet or something.
That's when surgery entered the conversation, specifically gastric sleeve surgery. For a year, she served, consulted doctors and prepared, but mostly in silence.
But I was just like playing with the idea. I just like, is it too extreme? But then I'm like, I've tried everything. So I was thinking of going to Nairobi. I said, reading about it, going through questions, and then I happened to tell a friend of mine who is a doctor here. And she's like, oh, there's a doctor who does it in Kampala. I don't think she comes up to me, she's like, oh, you don't have to go to Nairobi. There's someone who does it. But one thing I'd like to talk about is how lonely that journey is. I remember feeling like, you know what, I got myself here, so I'm going to get myself out of here. So I got money, and I started putting money in my drawer. And I would literally speak to that money. I remember it was in a bundle.
The night before surgery, she had a quiet goodbye.
So that Friday, I remember going to town and buying milkshakes, pizzas, I'm eating these things for the last time, yeah.
Gastric sleeve surgery is a procedure where most of your stomach is removed.
It's done laparoscopically, which means we put tiny holes on your belly and insert a camera and tubes, and then we take off about 70 to 80% of your stomach, leaving a small tube, which we call a sleeve. So the aim of that is to restrict how much you can take in at any given time. And then also the part of the stomach that is removed produces a hormone, what we call the hunger hormone, or ghrelin. And that hormone, once that part of the stomach is removed, it significantly reduces the desire to have to eat. And gradually, someone loses weight in a very healthy way.
But when does weight loss move beyond lifestyle and become a medical concern?
So there is a tool we call the body mass index. And that tool, we use it to gauge the body mass or the weight of someone in relation to their height. So typically, someone with a body mass index of 18 to 25 is considered normal. Now, beyond that, we have what we call overweight. So overweight is basically having a little more weight than you should have had. And then we have what we call obesity. And then we classify that also class 1, class 2, class 3.
However, not everyone qualifies for advanced weight loss interventions, and Dr. Mbine emphasizes that these options are not for cosmetic purposes.
These are drugs and they have side effects, so we really have to make sure they meet the criteria. So for example, someone who is 70 kilograms cannot come in and they say, I want a gastric sleeve. And I need to emphasize that for us, obesity is not a cosmetic condition. Obesity is a metabolic disorder. What does that mean? Obesity is a disease where someone produces excess fat. But we are looking at someone who is 140 kilograms. They cannot take the stairs. They cannot walk to the road to get a taxi. When they get into a taxi, they can't come out. You know, all these kinds of things. They can't lie flat. So now when you do surgery for such an individual, they've been 130 kilograms. They are now 90 kilograms. You've actually given them a bit of control in their life.
According to Dr. Mbine, a gastrointestinal surgeon, these interventions range in type and intensity depending on the patient's medical needs.
The first is lifestyle, and with physical exercise. If that doesn't work, we have the GLP-1 analogs. And once again, someone has to be overweight, but within a certain criteria, and this has to be prescribed by a physician, not self-prescribed. Then we have the gastric balloon, still for class 1 obesity, BMI of 30 to 35 with no comorbidities. And then we have the gastric sleeve. This is for class 2 obesity and class 3. So
they were not as famous as they are today, which is 2026 and 2025. That's when they really blew up. And I'm glad that the WHO now recognizes obesity as a disease, and people who have struggled with obesity are finally going to get the help that they deserve or that they need.
GLP-1 agonists are a class of medications that mainly help manage blood sugar levels in people with type 2 diabetes. However, 1st September 2025, the World Health Organization added GLP-1 therapies with guidelines to support people living with obesity in overcoming this serious health challenge as part of a comprehensive approach that includes healthy diets, regular physical activity, and support from health professionals.
Despite doing all that, you still have to monitor a good diet to keep that weight off. That's one. Two, you have to preserve your muscle mass. If you're not having enough protein in your diet, you will have low muscle mass. Your bones will be seeping out or become weak and fragile. That happens a lot with those GLP-1s, weak bones. So you have to pay attention to your food you're eating to make sure you preserve your muscles, protect your organs and your nerves, everything, your whole body to remain healthy and well. So you having a medical procedure, let's say a drug or an injection or surgery, doesn't replace eating healthy.
You realize that, man, these surgeries, the side effects honestly are there. Your vision will be affected because you're not getting enough vitamins, yeah? Your skin will react a certain way, the elasticity, because you need collagen. Your hormones, while it reverses hormonal imbalance in some people, for example, people who have PCOS, it reverses some of the symptoms, or I've seen like 2 friends whose symptoms have been reversed by a lot. It also does affect certain things, like if you don't have enough vitamin D and stuff like that. So when it comes to food, I said looking out for such things.
She, however, thought the hardest part was over until unusual pains kicked in, which saw her wheeled back to theatre.
There are risks that come with any surgical procedures. So for example, if you're performing surgery, there's a risk of bleeding. There's a risk of reflux because we've reduced the size of the stomach. Yeah, there can be a risk of infections from the surgery.
I just remember feeling so much pain and I was screaming. So we got to hospital at about 10 a.m. and I called the surgeon and he's like, let them do a scan. So they do a scan and find that contents in the stomach had spilled into the abdomen.
But today, 34-year-old Nyonyozi, who now weighs 74 kilograms from 140, says she has no regrets. She prides in the decision she made.
Looking at the new Prim, would you say she has had a number of opportunities presented to her compared to the old Prim? Because I do see you now working with different clothing lines.
That's a really good question. Thank you. Yes, definitely. So I'm bolder. I'm bolder, and I feel like I'm more rested. I've transformed a lot as a person. I've grown a lot. I've employed tools to help me with my growth, personally, intellectually. All that. I'm more at peace with myself.
According to the Demographic Health Survey of 2023, 33% of deaths in Uganda are linked to rising rates of overweight and obesity, with 24% of women and 9% of men aged 15 to 49 affected. Additionally, the prevalence of hypertension and diabetes among adults has been steadily increasing. Mildred Pedun, NTV.
They happen in different